There was a boy on Nell's bed. Nell's grip on Rabbit tightened as she stared down at him. He stared back sullenly. "Now, this is Vian," Daddy said in his trying-to-be-jolly nothing-wrong-here voice. "Vian, come off the bed," Ruth urged gently. Nell had already met Ruth downstairs. Ruth had a nice smile and red curls that bounced when she walked. Nell instinctively liked Ruth. But if Ruth was the reason Nell had a boy on her bed, Nell might have to rethink her affections. "Vian?" Ruth urged again. Nell dragged her eyes away from the boy with his dark, unfathomable eyes and looked up at her father. "Why is he on my bed?" Daddy seemed momentarily uncomfortable, but quickly put his jolly voice back on. "We thought you'd like to sleep in the top bunk, now that you're a big girl." Nell shook her head. "I want my bed." Her father exchanged an awkward glance with Ruth. Ruth knelt down. "Can you get up, please, Vian?" "No," Vian muttered, edging back until his entire body was flush against the wall. His dark hair looked stark against the white paint. Nell's eyes roved around the room, taking in the unfamiliar teddies on the duvet and the toy cars lined up on the narrow shelf behind the pillow. Something told her that Vian had been sleeping in her bed for some time. And it was her bed. It had always been her bed and her bedroom. She even had glow-in-the-dark stars stuck to the wooden slats holding up the top mattress. Nell had a quick look to see if they were still there. They were. "It's fine," Nell's father brushed Ruth off, touching his hand to her arm. "Why don't we all go and have a nice hot chocolate and a biscuit?" Hot chocolate and biscuits before dinner. Nell loved the idea of this, but Vian continued to scowl. It was as though he thought she was the intruder. "Daddy, I don't want to sleep in the top bunk," she whispered anxiously as she followed her father out of her bedroom, not understanding the reason for the upheaval. "What about my glow-in-the-dark stars?" "We can get you some more to put on the wall," Daddy promised, turning around to scoop Nell up into his arms as he reached the bottom of the stairs. "But I like looking up at them," she said, her eyes pricking with tears as her father carried her the rest of the way into the kitchen. "Then we'll get you some stars for the ceiling," Daddy replied. "But I like my bed." "Nell, please." Her father's forehead creased with impatience as he set Nell back on her feet. "Be a good girl, okay?" Nell was stung. She was a good girl. She loved coming to stay with her daddy in Cornwall. This was their time. Why did things have to change? Why did these people have to be here too? Mummy had explained, of course. Daddy had a new girlfriend who had moved in. Faster than the speed of light. Very unlike your father, completely uncharacteristic. I did wonder if he'd been brainwashed, but we've spoken and she seems nice enough. Probably do him good, stop him from being such a hermit. Plus, you'll have company because her son's the same age as you, born literally 2 days before you. Your dad thinks it's fate, that you're going to be like Topsy and Tim twins or something. Nell's head had spun with all this information, but she had lapped it up because Mummy was usually too busy to talk and now she was actually laughing. The only person who had made Mummy laugh lately was Conan, Mummy's tennis coach. Not that Mummy had played tennis with Conan in a while. "Ruth, are you coming?" Daddy called loudly. "Be there in a minute," she called back. Daddy smiled at Nell. "Vian is a bit shy, but he's really nice. You'll like him, I promise." He had claimed as much on the phone. "Now, which biscuit shall we have?" Daddy asked. "Custard creams or bourbons? Or jammy dodgers?" "Jammy dodgers," Nell replied with a smile. Her father beamed at her as he tore the packet open and upended its entire contents onto a plate. "Here they are," he said merrily, as Ruth appeared hand in hand with Vian. The boy was about Nell's height, possibly a couple of centimeters taller. Nell could see now in the light of the kitchen that his eyes were blue, dark blue. He still looked very grumpy. Nell cuddled Rabbit to her chest and stepped behind her father's legs. "All sorted," Ruth said jovially. "Vian will sleep in the top bunk from now on." "But," Nell's dad started. "Shh," Ruth cut him off. "It's fine. He'll be fine, won't you, darling?" Vian glared at his mother and pulled a chair out from the table, the sound of the wood screeching across the floor tiles making everyone except the perpetrator flinch. He slumped down on the chair in a sulk, his bottom lip jutting out and his arms folded across his chest as he stared straight ahead. Vian did not look fine. Nell tried not to care. She had only restored what was rightfully hers after all, and she really did like her bed.